Welcome to Little Victories, the self-help comedy podcast that proves success isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Hosted by fast-talking firecracker Richie DeFrisco and the ever-sly Pat the Cat Murray with the Pat Facts. This is Little Victories.
Welcome back to the Little Victories podcast. I am your host, Richie DeFrisco, with my co-host,
Pat the Cat.
Adam Murray. Today I have a guest that I didn't even know how this gentleman is in my room. I got very lucky. I met him a few years ago at an art gallery. He's a big deal. He's a substantial person. He's been a working actor for it's got to be over 3 decades in every film you can imagine, from going from Goodfellas, Pineapple Express. He is extremely talented. The more I got to know him and support him, he was more talented than I even knew. So I don't want to drag it on, but today is a very special day. Without any other further introduction, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Kevin Corrigan.
Tremendous.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for that introduction. That was certainly nice of you to say.
It was an improv. I just came up with that at the top of my head.
No, you're very good at that. Yeah, we met at a gallery, right? The gallery in Bushwick.
It's odd. Yeah, it's in Bushwick, and it's odd how that happened because our producer is very diligent about going to events. He's been doing this forever, and I try to go as much as I can. I go more now than I used to be, but it's important, especially where we're working creatives, and you have to show up. Half the battle's showing up. And I didn't go to that event, and then like last minute, I said, you know what, just pick me up. I want to go. And I go to this event, and I don't know why. It could have been time of year, but there was people there, but it wasn't packed where you couldn't get in. And then the work there was stunning by different artists. I forget the name of the venue, but I have it on my phone. Mm-hmm. And then you were there with your black top. You look like a hitman, and a very polished, expensive hitman. And Pierre comes up to me, and he says, "Oh, that's Kevin Corrigan over there." I looked to the right, and you were probably about 50 feet away from me, talking to somebody, and I said, "Oh shit, it is him." And then he said, "You should try to talk to him." And then you had made eye contact with me because I was staring at you in an uncomfortable way. And then you kind of made the body language as if I could go talk to you, and I did. From that moment on, here we are. Come to find out that the reason why you were at that venue is because you're an artist, amongst many other things. I know that people that are successful athletes or actors do many different things. I don't know the extent of their work, but your work is incredible. So it's like, it's almost intimidating because were you just good at everything?
Just a few things. Just a few. I mean, I'm okay. At a few things. I can draw a bit, and my mother was an artist. She went to High School of Art and Design, graduated from there, and then went to School of Visual Arts, and graduated from there. So she had that. A lot of people have had that path. Who've grown up in New York. She's from the Bronx, South Bronx. Went to those two places and had formal training and was pretty much a freelance artist.
Your mother's been a tremendous influence on your life.
Oh, yeah. I started drawing when I was 4. I say 4 just because it's a convenient enough number. It's a nice even number, 4. But I just was, watching her. It was just because that's who I spent all my time with.
Was your father around?
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
But was he the type of guy that was at work all the time and you spent more time with your mother?
Yeah, he worked downtown. So he was always out the door by, 8 a.m. down to, an office in Midtown. And, it's easy to say that he was kind of a business guy and my mother was a sort of an artist, and that's true in a very broad way. I've never been on Broadway. Um, uh, that's if you want to get sort of particular about what kind of acting I'm not good at. I do more films than I do theater. Although I do theater, but I've worked more in films and television.
You've had a very, very successful career, and your roles are substantial. I know working actors that are great. Sometimes, again, I'm the outside looking in, and I've diligently attacked trying to get myself into being this role of this working actor, and I won't stop. Things have changed, and I had spoken to Louis Lombardi about this. He comes from my neighborhood as well. He's a friend of mine, about the fact that it's harder now. It's harder now than it was back then. I mean, I don't know, but for me, I just don't know. And then the advice that was given by several people was that we're kind of in a stage now, and you're gonna have your own opinion about this. Is like the actor has to make their own content now.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's always been the case, you know. You're supposed to do your own thing. You're supposed to do it, do it yourself, DIY, whatever, independent music, independent film. That always seemed like the thing to do, in my mind, is to be like a director and a writer and an actor and a musician if possible.
Yeah, how do you fit that in? Because you're a musician too.
You just do it. You have a guitar around, or a keyboard, or look at all this gear in here. You got a flat screen. You just need a few. It occurred to me, at some point, we have everything we need to make a movie, and anyone walking around has. Anyone with like one of these can make and edit a movie and distribute it too. You know?
So your career, is it safe to say, has spanned over the course of 40 years?
Yeah.
And, I know we just met right before we started filming, but I remembered your name and face just off of what I had seen growing up. I had known that you had your part in Goodfellas in 1990. Worked again with Scorsese for The Departed. I tried to do some homework. I rewatched the movies a couple of days ago. Iconic films. And then right off the heels of The Departed, you entered that working relationship with Seth Rogen and Judd Apatow, doing what I thought were, like, at the time, I was 9 or 10 when Superbad and then Pineapple Express came out. But I was on the floor laughing. And one thing I wanted to ask you was because you had made those inroads into two distinct genres. You had the drama and the seriousness of Goodfellas and The Departed, and then you had the comedic approach of Superbad and Pineapple Express. And so, how did you find yourself entering those roles?
Just copying other actors.
Really?
Yeah. Just copying people, just imitating people, and everyone does a Christopher Walken impression now.
7 Psychopaths.
Yeah, I've worked with him a couple of times. I've been in 3 movies with him. The point I was trying to make was that I never did a Christopher Walken impression. The first person I ever saw do one was Adam Tracy, the actor. He was in a great landmark independent film called Laws of Gravity. I'm surprised you don't know about that film. You could have been in that film if you were around in 1991, 92, I think it was filmed. No, 91. Then it came out, and I was on the festival circuit in 92. And it had Edie Falco in it, like 10 years before The Sopranos. Great actor named Peter Green, Adam Tracy. Arabella Field, just like a shot in Williamsburg, pre-gentrified Williamsburg. And anyway, Adam Tracy, he was kind of like the Johnny Boy, from Mean Streets, the De Niro character. Adam was kind of like that character in Laws of Gravity, and he was just stunning. He was doing something. No one knew what he was doing, but it worked, and it was like just a fabulous, electrifying performance. And he was kind of doing Christopher Walken because he had been in a play with Christopher Walken in Central Park, Shakespeare in the Park, with Raul Julia and Christopher Walken. So I know this because Adam and I worked on a movie together not far from here on Pelham Parkway called The Saint of Fort Washington. One day at work, me, Adam, Tracy, and the late, great Brian Tarantina, a great actor from Hell's Kitchen. And, they put us in a van from Manhattan up to, we met by that hospital by 96th Street and First Avenue.
Oh, Mount Sinai?
I think so, yeah. That's where we had to catch the van to set. At 8 o'clock in the morning. It was freezing out. We go up to Pelham Parkway and to act in a movie with Matt Dillon. He was the guy in the scene, and we're his old friends. And we tease him, and that's all we had. And so at some point, like Adam was kind of just playing around. He started doing the Walken voice. He goes, "Can you imagine if Christopher Walken was an AD on a movie? Can you imagine what that would be like?" And he started to do that. He was like, "All right, back to one. All right, take two, Baker." Whatever. He started doing all the Walken lingo. I was going up to him just like looking inside his mouth. Like, where's that? How do you do that? That's amazing. You sound exactly like him. It's great. Do that again. And then we worked on a movie in Florida a few years later called Ill Town. And I just asked him to do his Walken impression. Every chance I got, I was like, "Adam, do some Walken." And this is before anybody else was doing it. Now everyone does it. You can't. It's just blown up in the culture, and it's just like a thing. Everyone does it.
It's worn out already.
Yeah, they have these these memes now of like, you don't need an appointment, just walk in, and it's a picture. There's one down the block.
Yeah, the cowbell,
more cowbell.
and now I live in Astoria, where he's from, and it's so funny the way he describes his voice now. He goes, "Everybody talks like this in Astoria." It's nothing. It's where I come from. But I was told when I was 17. I was at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. I wrote a play, a one-act play, two-person play. It was about like two kids who meet each other in front of the Dakota building where John Lennon lived, and they meet in front of the Dakota on what turns out to be the day he
Was shot.
is shot.
Yeah.
So it's just about that, these kids meeting, and they decide that to like go get a coffee because they're falling in love with each other. And they're like, well, what if John comes by, while we're gone? Like, he'll be here. We'll just come back, It's what's meant to be is meant to be. Whatever. So why did I bring that up? You were talking about pork chops before.
As we
Tell
were
me more
testing our
about
audio.
Yeah. I'll circle back to that. I think I was trying to get to the point about writing and doing your own thing and copying. Like I was copying. Oh yeah. So we were rehearsing the play. I played the part of the kid. He's got like Double Fantasy or a Beatles album or something. He wants John Lennon to sign it. And back at that time, I wore prescription glasses, and I liked to get my glasses tinted. I liked it to have a violet tint. but it made me look like a serial killer.
Oh wow.
And and everyone who saw this play thought that I was supposed to be the killer. I was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Although I do mention him, it's like, that guy over there has been waiting so long for, he came all the way from Hawaii. I feel like if we leave now, it's like, yeah, but you live here. You're from New York. You're from the Bronx. You can come down here wherever you want. It's West 72nd Street. What's the big deal? He's going to be here. He'll be here tomorrow. The girl talks him out of staying. So, but the director of the play, he's the first person, a guy named Richard Perez. He goes, hold on for a second. Let's go back to the top of the scene. But what you're doing, tell me what you're doing, Kevin, because, are you giving me Christopher Walken? What's your interest in her? Is it we were kind of ironing out things in the play, and he. I'd never been told that before, that I sound like Christopher Walken, but that it's a nasally kind of voice. It is like a New York accent. I do fall back on it now. Ever since he told me that, there's Alan Arkin. There's an Alan Arkin kind of voice, and there's like there's like a Steve Buscemi kind of voice, that kind of, and there's a Martin Scorsese kind of, there's this New York energy, this kind of nasally New York street, I'm walking here kind of, thing, that it was coming at you. If you grew up in New York, you were watching like local stations like Channel 11, Channel 9, Channel 5. And the New York would come in the window. It's just coming in. Like I grew up on Marshalloo Parkway in the Bronx, and it was just like I could see Manhattan from my window. We had a south-facing view from the 6th floor. Everything that view covers. The South Bronx, and it's just like as you grow up, you get to know the city more, unless you move to L.A. or something. I mean, I've never really moved around that much. I've never been like I'm not like a versatile actor in the sense that I could do I like New York a lot. I've always really loved this city. I loved even up here. I know Matt Dillon is from here. I knew that when I was a teenager. When I wanted to be an actor, I kind of signed off on the Strasberg Institute once I realized that he studied there, because my father went with me to the meeting for the initial interview to see if they would let me go there or something, and my father was like, so the actor's studio, and they were, yeah, the actor's studio's up in Hell's Kitchen. That's not this place. This is the Strasberg Institute. But yeah, the actor's studio, James Dean, they all went there, Marilyn Monroe, and my father said, well, who came here? Who studied here? He goes, well, in the young people's program, the most, I guess, famous person to come out of the young people's program, where your son will be going, Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
I was like, just sign me up. I'm going here. This is where I want to go.
And so that original director you talked about with the play that you had written, he was trying to get more of like your essence out of it, right? So then my question is, and it has to come to like typecasting when they talk about character actors.
Yeah.
Again, based on what I've seen and what I know you from, I couldn't put you in that category, but I feel like the industry might. Do you consider yourself that stereotypical character actor, or?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've boxed myself in, because you expect people to do that to you. I did anyway. It's like, you're going into show business. You're. It's like the Beatles. I was. My mother told me that my love for acting and for the Beatles emerged simultaneously. And I think about their climb in show business, and how they there was a very brief period of time where they changed their names, Actually, and like Paul McCartney called himself Paul Ramon, which inspired the Ramones. That's why the Ramones called the Ramones. That's why they called themselves that. It was because of Paul McCartney's pseudonym during that 6 months in 1960 where they and George Harrison became Carl Harrison because he liked Carl Perkins. But like you, I didn't change my name, but I affected a kind of thing, like a street thing. It's you can, if you're from the Bronx, some people, you can talk about it. You can talk about wherever you're from and use it. If you can use it, to
Well,
I mean, that's when I saw Mean Streets, it reminded me of people I knew, right? I'm sure you watch a movie like that, you're gonna identify with the rhythms of the characters in it, and then just getting into trouble, and adventure. There's a sense of adventure growing up in the city, and a sense of, but I don't know. So it was also like, I mean, my brother and my cousin, one of my cousins, we would watch like History of the World Part 1, the Mel Brooks movie about. Have you seen History of the World?
I haven't seen it in its entirety, but I know what you're.
I mean, or Cheech and Chong. We knew all the lines. We knew all the whole movie, and we used to perform for our parents. Say there was like a restaurant up in Scarsdale called Alex and Henry's, which some people may know around here. It's no longer there. It started out in the Bronx. It opened a restaurant in Scarsdale in the 70s. But like we used to, my father was very close friends with the owner of that place, Nat Racine, and we every special occasion, confirmations or birthdays, or we would, weddings, I guess, we would go there, and Nat always treated us really well because of his long history, friendship with all these people from the South Bronx.
did you get to walk in the back like in Goodfellas?
Yeah, I didn't, but my brother did, because my brother worked there, and he worked there at the same time that Michael Imperioli worked there. And I could have worked there if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to work. I wanted to be an actor. But I guess I could have worked there while I was pursuing acting. Michael did, But I'm just remembering like just those nights when we'd just be at dinner, out at dinner with our parents and your cousins, and then we'd just start talking about movies, and we'd start doing all the scenes from History of the World. And my father was just a sucker for a laugh. He thought we were hysterical. My brother Ken, my cousin Brian, and me, we would just do stuff from movies. My father loved, he loved it. He loved it. I love it now too. My daughter cracks me up, like young people can be really funny, and little kids too. A lot of some friends of mine are starting to have children, and I just held a baby the other day, like a month-old child. It was just sweet. He was really funny. I brought him a black dinner jacket just like this. I went to a children's clothing store in Greenpoint, and there was this little black blazer. And I think he liked it too. He was like...
It's funny because I just worked in, because I cover different shifts in the hospital, and I just worked in labor and delivery last night. And people say, well, what do you do up there? I say, I'm the guy that catches the baby. I sit in front of the woman while she's in her, she's delivering, and I just catch the baby when it shoots out. People seem to find that funny. you know, it's obvious. Anybody can look up your name. They're going to see, and obviously your facial recognition, they're going to know who you are and your substantial career. Along the way, and you might have mentioned this, I don't remember, either when I spoke to you or maybe when you did that, when I came to visit you, when you were doing the open mic, about like a role specific. But this has happened to all actors for the most part. It's just interesting to hear the specific stories about, you know, the role that you always wanted but didn't get. And I'm sure you've dealt with that. But like alongside that, specific to you, like what are things that's like, and sorry, but I curse a lot. It's the Bronx coming out of me.
Yeah.
But it's like, fuck, man. It's like, it takes the wind out of your sail. So within, let's say, the 3 to 4 decades that you've been doing this, where was it like where you looked up at the sky and you wanted to talk to God? Were there moments, specifically some of them, that stood out to you where it's like, this is hard?
Yeah. But was acting hard?
Anything life related, anything that slows down your mojo, where you're trying to move forward in life, you know, because life is difficult. You're working a career that's unknown. You have been successful from fairly early on, but it's not all. You know, I'm sure there are moments where it's like, you're like, this is hard.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean it's hard now, you know, and it's like it's a hard place to live, you know. It's hard times. Hard things are, you know, like things are tough all the time.
Is there a specific role that you wanted, let's say for that instance, and then you did everything you can to prepare that character, you delivered it, and you didn't get it?
Well, yeah, I felt that way about a few things. I don't know if I want to talk about them though, because other people got those roles,
Right, and you know,
and I don't like, you know, I really wanted to be in a movie called Five Corners, which was about the Bronx in 1964. It was written by John Patrick Shanley, and a guy I grew up with, a close friend of mine whose father knew I wanted to be an actor. He cut this piece, thing out of the Daily News, an open casting call at Lehman College, which was just like walking distance from where I lived, and it was for the movie Five Corners, and it's looking for Bronx types or whatever, a Bronx story set in the Bronx. John Patrick Shanley, everyone was doing scenes from his plays in at the Strasberg Institute, you know, Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, Savage and Limbo, and which were about like these hard, you know, street characters and wounded people, like angry people, you know, colorful portraits of like Irish and Italian people from the Bronx, and that movie was about, like, it was kind of like his Strawberry Fields Forever. It was like he was trying. It was his first screenplay. He was trying to make a story about, kind of based on his what he remembered about his childhood, you know. And it's a beautiful movie. I really wanted to be in that. I thought I just love that time period. I love the movie The Wanderers. I love the movie Inside Llewyn Davis with Oscar Isaac playing Bob Dylan type of character living in the village in the early '60s. I just love that period, the Kennedy administration, late '50s. I just rewatched a fantastic movie called Little Fugitive the other night. Showed it to someone who hadn't seen it. It's like 1953. It's if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's about like a little kid who runs away to Coney Island, and was made with like one camera, one handheld camera, of 16 millimeter, and so I thought I was, I thought it was, you know, I was destined to be in this film, but it didn't work out, and it took a, I didn't really get over it, because then I went to see the movie when it came out, and I loved it. Like I thought I might, maybe it would be bad and I wouldn't have to keep thinking about it, but I internalized it even more. It's just a beautiful film. It wasn't seen by very many people. It wasn't like a box office success.
But it was important to you, and
Very much. Like there's an actress in it who became my wife. And
so that was your victory then.
yeah, I did end up hosting in 2015. So an even 10 years ago, I got to do a lot of press stuff for a movie called Results, which was successful at Sundance, and I was invited to a film festival in Madison, Wisconsin, and the head of the festival, Jim Healy, who's the brother of a good friend of mine, Pat Healy, who's an actor. Jim said, "We want to show Results. We also have this thing called the Restoration Series, where someone who's in town for the festival, like yourself, gets to pick a movie that they feel is underrated or something." And I immediately thought of Five Corners, and Jim thought that was a great idea. He got personally in touch with Tony Bill, the director, and who I read for, actually. After I met the casting assistant at Lehman College, I managed to get a call back to meet the director in the city, and I did meet him. And they did tell me that there was a part that they wanted me for, but then the scene that part was in was cut out of the script. Even they didn't even shoot it. So there was no I did feel like I did have a reason to think I might get it, So, but Tony sent his original print of Five Corners. We showed it at Madison, Wisconsin, and I contacted John Patrick Shanley and asked him. I said, "I'm about to introduce Five Corners tonight to this audience as part of this restoration series. It's up for an audience award. Is there anything you want to say about the movie you think that I could share with the audience when I introduce it?" And he wrote something really nice, about it being about his childhood, whatever. And I read that, and it won the award, the audience award. I talked to a lot of people after the screening who'd never heard of the movie, had never seen it, and thought it was, like, how did this fly under the radar? And then I got to show it 2 more times that year. I showed it in L.A. at the Silent Movie Theater on Fairfax, and I showed it at the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, where it was filmed. It was October 2015, and I got put together a Q&A that included John Turturro, who was in the movie, my wife, Elizabeth Berridge, and John Patrick Shanley, Carl Capitordo, Todd Graff, Fred Murphy, the DP, like a bunch of people from the movie, And I moderated a Q&A with this group of people, and I'm still not in the movie.
But you managed to find a way to swindle one of the girls off set. Is that the one? That's your wife? Same film?
Yeah.
And now your daughter is a filmmaker.
Not my daughter. I have to get downtown tonight to see my daughter in a play.
Oh, she's an actress, but she's a filmmaker
She's
too.
also a filmmaker. She's a writer and a director. She wrote and directed a feature film called "If That Mockingbird Don't Sing."
But she won an award for that film as well.
She did. She won several awards for it. It's been done very well on the in the festivals and at the Soho Film Festival in particular. This time last year, Soho International Film Festival. Great. That was a great screening. Sold out screening down on 11th Street. And yeah, she's written some new stuff, and she goes to the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. It's the best investment my father ever made, was sending me there.
So you have a strong family, strong bonds, strong values. The creativity is run through from your mother on.
It's in the genes.
Yeah. Diabetes is in my genes.
Mental illness.
Mental illness too. Do you see anything in your daughter that reminds you of your mother?
Yeah. Some stuff, some things, yeah. Sense of humor, temper. Actually, my mother didn't have like a, you know, she was not like like a warmonger or something. You know, when she had a right to be angry, she could be furious.
And what was her, I know we talked about her briefly, what was her medium? What was her creativity of choice?
She was a painter. She didn't like to work with oil paint that much. She used gouache and acrylics and pastels and charcoal and she was also a sculptor. She has sculpted a bust of my father, which I have. I have it now. Like it's a really. I look at it every day, and it's him. It's like it's totally him. I mean, he saw it while he was alive. You know, we all just it would just be there in her apartment on Marshallou when family would come over for Thanksgiving or something. There he would be with on a. It's a beautiful piece. I wish I could show it to you, but I don't want to waste time looking for it.
You shared this with us.
Yeah, so that's
If we're going to show everybody there.
yeah. I'm in a. I have a music project called NY Grimm, and it's me and George Silidis. He's the singer and the vocalist, let's say, and lyricist, and I play guitar, and we have a guy on drums named Billy Martin, who's in a group called Medeski, Martin, and Wood, and now he's playing with us. And we're hoping we're trying to line up a gig to sell that record. That's an LP. But the front cover, the album's called Misfit Irritants, which is a term taken from a kind of a think piece I came across on the internet about the movie Mean Streets. And I shared it with George from NY Grimm, and he thought that would be a great name for a band or an album. Misfit Irritants is what the author of that article referred to the characters in Mean Streets as being. Essentially, Johnny Boy and Charlie and Tony and all these guys in Mean Streets, they're misfit irritants. And George thought that was a good description of us, too. So, but we're called NY Grimm. The album, which is our first album.
And that's what we're going to plug.
Misfit Irritants. You can hear it on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music. It's not on Bandcamp, but Bandcamp. It's on all the other platforms. And we did a show at Berlin Under A. It's on 2nd Street and Avenue A just last weekend. I'm hoping we're going to play at Union Pool in Williamsburg.
Tickets on sale?
Not on sale, but if they are on sale, you'll know if you go on my Instagram. I'm real easy to find on Instagram. It's the only social media thing that I really mess with. But that's where there's more information about NY Grim. Oh, there's NY Grim Band at NY Grim Band. So the band has an Instagram account.
Before I close, a couple things I want to try to ask you with whatever time we have left.
We're running short.
No shit, Pat. But yeah, these are a couple of important things, and we could keep it brief. But essentially, the one part of it is that you're already successful. If the book closed now, you already did amazing things.
Well, thanks for saying that. You've been very, this is very, I appreciate you,
and one thing I'll never forget is that when I went to that event that I saw you at, is that, and this is firsthand from my experience with you, and I really appreciate you, and in some sense I do look up to you, is that when we had that event closed, and it was a small gathering, but legitimately everybody was in awe of you as you continued your performance that you made the night before, from what you had told me. And it was an extensive piece of work that you just, I don't know if you slept that night. There's no way you did.
Were you talking about
in Brooklyn, when you did that person, when you were throwing the pages. You were brilliant. And I have, I recorded that and I put it on my Instagram account. But one thing that meant a lot to me is it's about people. Everything to me is about people. And you knew who I was. You addressed me by my name. But not only that, and this means a lot to me, and I want you to know this. Before, you didn't just do your piece, the show closed, and you walked home. You made sure you spoke to every single person that wanted to talk to you before you left that room. Every single person, and you treat everybody in that person like they mattered. And I don't have much time, but I just want to say how much I appreciate you. You're brilliant in so many different ways. It's almost intimidating how good you are at your craft and all of these different things. You're a huge success now. I'm sure you have more things that you're working on because the work never stops. It's part of life. Maybe sometime we could talk about it as well. I just want to thank you for coming all the way.
Thank you, Kevin.
From the other side of New York to come here and be in our studio. It means a lot to us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kevin Corrigan. Follow his for updates. He's always posting events and things like that where he'll be performing or galleries, etc. on his Instagram, predominantly where he is, at Kevin Corrigan. And then we'll share that information once we launch this episode.
Yeah, I should say, go see my daughter's play. It's at the AMT Theater. It's called the Edward Allen Baker Plays. It's one, and she also has a film that's streaming on Tribeca Films, or Tribeca Films is distributing it or helping to distribute it on the stream. The film's called If That Mockingbird Don't Sing. And get it, and there's NY Grim too. I'm done promoting myself. Thank you.
We'll promote you as well.
We're going to promote him to nonstop as well, and also support because now the torch is being passed to his daughter, and I'm sure she has a long road ahead of her of a lot of success that she'll be working on as well. It's a family thing. Once again, I can't thank the gentleman enough. He's a stand-up guy through and throughout, extremely talented. Stay in tune with every update that he has because he just seems to be good at everything, whether you go to see a music venue or go to a gallery and see his artwork. Once again, I can't thank you enough, Mr. Kevin Corrigan.
Thank you. We're good.
You're a star.
Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more wins and more laughs. Follow us at Little Victories Pod on Instagram so you don't miss a thing.